Looking at individual coaching versus group coaching. There's definitely a difference, as you know. And I wanted to give you an idea because a lot of people, I have a website and I often survey the people who are part of my list. By the way, actually, I should have talked about this before, but I have an e-zine and I also have a free report called Productivity Myths Busted for people with ADD. And if you're interested, you can just, there's a sheet, a little pad of paper, write your name and email. You don't even have to write your real name, it's okay. And it's an automated system, so I don't necessarily know who you are specifically. And it's only if you want to. But individual coaching, a lot of times when I ask clients, what do you think, what would you like to have me offer? And I'll say, well, group coaching is way too unpersonal. And that's not quite true. Okay, so here are the differences between the two. In individual coaching, of course, you come in with an agenda. By the way, in coaching, the client usually sets the agenda. They come in and they say, okay, here's what I want to work on today. A lot of the times at the beginning, when I'm working with a new client, I have to kind of almost train them on how to do that. And sometimes I do have some diagnostic tools that I use at the beginning so that we can pinpoint some of the areas that might be an issue. But ideally, when you first come in, you have an idea of what you want to do. And at the end of this session, we'll be working on outcomes and desired outcomes. If you're doing group coaching, it's usually a set subject or a theme or a certain type of people. So, for example, I've got the Maximum Productivity Makeover that Sue was talking about. That's, of course, the main goal there is to work on your productivity, and it's a number of different ebooks and videos, and we meet between sessions to discuss what are the things that you can implement in your life. So it's more than just learning, because one of the things that you have to realize is you come to these conferences and you learn a whole lot of information, but until you implement them, you're not really gaining a whole lot out of this. Information gathering is a really nice thing, but you need to start looking at even if it's just one strategy that you implement. I think it's a better strategy than just gathering only information and not moving forward on it. But we usually work on the theme. Money management, could be career choice, and those types of things. With individual coaching, the client is deciding the outcome. In group coaching, the outcome tends to be defined by the group. However, each person can decide, well, what this outcome is going to look like for me is I'm going to be a lot more productive, or I'm going to be able to delegate better, or I'm going to be able to manage meetings better. It depends on what it is that's important to you and what you do. It's more personalized in individual coaching because, it's you and me, and that's it, or you and your coach. But in group coaching, it can be personalized when it's done properly. I've taken training on how to do group coaching, and it's not about the coach talking to everyone and telling them everything that they need to do. It's really much more interactive. If somebody pipes in, and usually the agenda is set, but it's not set in stone. Someone can come in and say, I'd like to be able for us to talk about this particular issue. If I feel that it's relevant for everyone, we will talk about it. I may actually coach that person online if she's okay with that or he's okay with that. If not, after the session, I usually stay on for another 15 minutes and I may laser coach that person. So that's an option as well. Of course, individual coaching is more expensive. 1 hour for one client is, and it's not just the time to coach, it's the time that it took to get the person. A lot of people who are not business people don't understand business. When you're paying your plumber $80 an hour, the plumber is being paid by his boss maybe $20 or $30 an hour. Why? Because that plumber has overhead, has to do marketing, has to do so. There's all of this. Group coaching can be more affordable. And group coaching, there's more accountability check with individual coaching. In group coaching, there's an excellent progression because there's a certain group dynamics. People come in, if you start the group properly, people come in and they are bouncing off the walls, and if you get a good group, and one of the lessons learned from my latest group was you need to have groups that are more homogeneous. But they do progress quite well because they don't want to be left behind. They're now part of a group. There's a number of people who actually, they have a community and they don't want to be left behind. So there's a natural progression because of that. Group dynamics is there. People will ask each other, so how did you do on that particular goal? So Benefits of phone coaching. How many of you who, well, I know there's not too many of you who were coached. How many of you were phone coached? Nobody. Not one person, okay. And how many were coached face-to-face? Nobody? Oh, one, okay. So the difference in the two, a lot of people say, I couldn't do phone coaching because I'm a visual person. I've been coached as well. I've had a coach for several years. I've had several coaches for several years. And I found I am a very visual person. So being a visual person and coaching on the phone seems like it might be a problem, but it isn't, because visual distractions are an issue. You know, if you have attention deficit disorder, the tendency is to be distracted by everything that's going on. So when they come to my office, they see everything. They look at me, what I'm dressed. They might hear my dog howl to the moon downstairs because he's locked away when I have clients at my office. So there's a lot of distractions. When we're on the phone, it's almost as if there's a connection between this and the same on your end, and it works really beautifully. Clients who have done both, who have started saying, well, I don't want to do phone coaching because it wouldn't work for me. Of course, life gets in the way, and you can't make your phone coaching session, so your face-to-face coaching session. Let's try a phone coaching session. If it doesn't work, you know what? We'll go back to the other way of doing things. And they'll try it, and it has never happened that any of them have returned to face-to-face coaching. They realize that they do really well. I coach people all over the world. I've got clients in Europe. I've had clients in Israel and in Iceland and in the States and the rest of Canada. So what's nice about phone coaching, you don't have to have a coach in Timbuktu as long as you have a phone line. And today, long-distance charges are not a big issue. I have a North America long-distance package, and if you have to pay long-distance when you're calling your coach, maybe there's a way for the coach, especially that we do tend to be very often on the phone long distance, we can get packages and something can be worked around. Workshop. Okay, so this is where we're at. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about whether or not this could benefit you. Will coaching benefit you? There are 3 secrets for successful coaching that I've seen, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I'll talk quickly about coaching readiness and hiring a coach. Okay, 3 secrets. This is, I'm not the guru of coaching, by the way. Okay, I'm giving you that as I've been coaching for 5 years. I know that the group of people that I've seen the ones who do really, really well in coaching tend to have, we've developed certain things. And sometimes they come in and they don't necessarily have those things in place. We develop them in the coaching. So one of the things, that's you, of course, you're a triangle today. And your dream is the first thing. Okay, now a lot of people don't like the word dream. That's okay. It could be outcome. It could be called objectives. It could be goals, whatever it is. Are they compelling? Because here's what's going to happen. When things get really rough, and they will, change is not easy. Okay? Every time we try to change something, you're in a rut, you're on the road in that rut, driving, and you try to get off the rut, and it's not easy. Once you get off it, maybe it's a bit smoother sailing, but the tendency is to get back on it. Unfortunately, we do. Our wheel tends to go back in the rut, and we stay there. It can be discouraging when you're trying to change and you're on and off and on and off. If the dream or the outcome is compelling enough, then you're more likely to continue. A lot of clients come to me because, excuse the expression, but their life totally sucks. They've almost reached rock bottom. Their wife or their spouse has decided they want a divorce. They've lost their job for the 14th time. They've got serious financial issue. They're struggling with so many aspects of their lives, and they feel absolutely overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. So, of course, for them, getting to normal will be compelling for a while. But once getting to normal is a bit too much of an effort, then we need to move the dream up a little bit, or the outcomes up a little bit, so that they continue to be motivated to continue. I'll give you a really good example. My husband is an ADDer. He is also an artist. And for years, he's been painting. I discovered in our 15th year of marriage that he was an artist. He was an amazing artist, and I was totally shocked. I had no idea. So I enrolled him in a class because he kept on saying, well, when I have When I get around to it. I actually created the round to it, and he got to do it. And he's been painting all these years. Now, we've been married 26 years. In a week, it'll be 26 years. So, and he paints these big, huge, gigantic paintings. We have a big house, but now we're starting to need for him to sell some of those paintings. Now, for the longest time, he couldn't talk to people. He was uncomfortable with talking to people. If he and I went to an event, he would follow me around because he was too shy to talk to people. He really, really struggled with a lot of this. At work, things have changed, and they're not so great. And what he really wants to be able to do, because the time in his life that's really great for him is when he is painting. He loves it. He could do this all day long. So that is now his compelling dream, and he has been willing to do anything. The most shocking things have happened in the last year since he's actually gotten to that point. Sometimes it takes that long to get there. But he had an art exhibit at the beginning of the year, and then a second one. He actually talked to somebody. And actually the person told him, you know what, the paintings would be really good with these people and these people. I know these people. If you give me a call, Dwayne would never have called them. You know, he would have given me that call, do it. Could you call them? But he's the one who actually went ahead and did it. And I asked him, like, why in the world have things changed so much for him, or for you? And he says, you know, Linda, I so want this dream. I so want to be a full-time artist. I want to be here instead of going to that crappy job that I have. And I'm happy I have the job. I'm grateful for it, but it's not something I want to do for the rest of my life. So it's compelling enough that he will do anything. Talk to people. He was talking to people. He did a presentation at his art exhibit in English and in French. French is not his first language, and for the longest time he would not speak French. But he did it in both languages. I was floored, and everybody who knew him was completely shocked. So compelling is really important, and emotional is really important. Is this outcome emotional for you? If it's just, I want to have a big house or a big car, that's not an outcome that's going to help you. It's not an emotional outcome. Why do you want the house or the car? Well, I want 18 kids and counting, I don't know, or whatever it is, but, you know, it has to be an emotional thing. And it has to be believable, because if you don't believe it, if you want $1 million, but you're $50,000 in debt right now and you don't have 2 pennies to rub together, $1 million is so out of reach that you won't believe yourself, okay? And as soon as it gets rough, and it will very quickly, you won't be able to continue. So this part is really important. In the workshop, I talk about it as the desired outcome, because a lot of people look at dream and they don't like the term. So I like the word dream, because that's the biggest area. You know, if you're looking at all of these objective, goal, desired outcome, and the dream is the biggest one. Strengths, we talked, and anybody who was here last night for the panel, strengths is a very big part of coaching ADDers, and it's a very big part of people who have the most success work with their strengths instead of spending most of their time on their weaknesses. There's actually studies that show that avoiding something, you're less likely to reach that goal than if you're going towards. And it's very simple to fix. You know, you're avoiding getting late, getting up late in the morning. Well, you know what? You could turn that into, well, I'm looking forward to being on time because I want to feel confident and I want to feel like people can count on me. In the strengths work that we do, we build awareness, because a lot of ADDers have no idea what their strengths are. If I was asking you to write your top 5 strengths right now, how many of you think you'd be able to do it in a minute? Okay, good. But it's still not much, right? So I did the exercise once. I gave people 30 seconds to write all the weaknesses that they knew they had. Okay? And then I gave them 2 minutes to write all of the strengths they had, so 4 times the amount of time. They had a list this long of weaknesses, and some of them couldn't even get one strength, because it's not that you don't see it. You know, if you're living in the muck, you don't see those strengths. And sometimes you don't even realize that a strength is a strength because it's too easy for you. A lot of times I'll hear, that's not a strength, it's so easy. Yeah, it's easy for you, it's not easy for everyone else. So awareness is really important, developing it. So developing your strengths is part of what we do in coaching. We work on, okay, so now you know that you're really good in this. How can you develop this further? How can you use it where you work, or how can you use it in your everyday life? You can also use it as a solution. I'll use my husband again as an example, but Dwayne was extremely had a lot of problems with his memory, his short-term memory. He got into a lot of trouble, and in the next session, I'll tell you a little bit about that, but he got into a lot of trouble. And by the way, I have his total permission, his and my daughter, to talk about him, so I'm not talking behind his back. And he knows it's being recorded, so he can listen to absolutely everything. But he, while his memory is a real problem, and it has caused some serious problems in his career, but also in our home life, he knows that he's really good at creating systems. He can actually systematize the most difficult thing in the world and figure a way to do it. As long as he's got a big picture of where he's going, because big picture thinkers are, ADDers tend to be big picture thinkers. So often, well, what he's done is he's actually used that particular strength as a solution for his major weakness of memory. So. And your beliefs. Beliefs are a very, very important component. It is the most likely thing to get you stuck. Okay. So do you believe in yourself? Sometimes that's difficult when you have ADD. Sometimes you might have to go on somebody else's faith about you. You know, so do you believe in yourself? And if you believe in yourself, what are you willing to do? Change. Do you believe in change, or do you believe that you can change? A lot of people come to me and say, you know, I've tried every time management programs in the world. I've gone to talk to all kinds of people. I've had an organizer come in and help me, and I still can't do it. I don't think I can change. And everybody can change. It's just sometimes the belief is just not there, and there's some work to be done. Limiting beliefs can be a total, you know, it could be really, really a problem when you've got limiting beliefs. Imagine I had a client who was a sales rep, and he came to see me about improving his sales performance, because for the last 10 years he had been getting virtually no sales, which is, to me, it should have been a wake-up call earlier than that. But he came to me, and I've done sales before. I've been trained by some of the best salespeople in the world, so I've been lucky in that way. So we worked on some of the sales issues and how to process and how to do it. And then he wouldn't make his phone calls. He wouldn't make those calls. He had a good excuse every time we'd talk. And I'm not there to mother him, of course, but if you're not doing the things that you've committed to doing for yourself, we're going to be talking. You know, there's some things that maybe we need to discuss. So what we ended up doing, as I'm talking to him, I'm realizing that he says, well, you know, I don't want people to think that I'm out to get them. And I said, why do you think that people would think that you're out to get them? He says, well, all salesmen are like that. That's a limiting belief. If you are a very, and he was a Hasidic Jew, so he was very, very religious, hyper-religious. If you believe in that salespeople, or the career that you're in, is a career for crooks, and it's against your nature to be like that, of course it's going to stop you. So limiting beliefs are often what stop you. If you're struggling with something, you're not getting there, ask yourself, what am I thinking of? What is the stinking thinking going on in my mind? And when you figure it out, you're more likely to be able to get through it and change it. By the way, you can change the way you think.